Welcome to the Money Tree Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we learn from real estate professionals across the industry. They will share about how they got into real estate, the big wins they have celebrated, the mistakes they have made along the way, and the advice they have for anyone following in their footsteps. Money really does grow on trees. Hey everybody, it's William Hollins here for another episode of the Money Tree Real Estate Investor Podcast. I've got a special guest today, Shawn Griffith. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us, what you did prior to getting into real estate and kind of where you're at now.
Hey everybody, William, thanks for having me on the show. This is a real pleasure and a treat for me. This is going to help me with one of my goals this year, which is to grow my marketing and my presence. So I really appreciate you having me on. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm a syndicator and developer. Where I started, right out of high school, I went in the U.S. Navy. I won't give you guys the whole tour of that, but I was enlisted for a while, got a commission, went to school, did some more work in the Navy. When I got out of the Navy, I went to Texas Instruments, worked there for about 9 years until they sold the defense group to Raytheon. Raytheon then subsequently packed up and moved out of town. I did some creative unemployment for a while, like access database babysitting, that kind of stuff, because my background's in math and computer science. And so I like to play with computers and databases and fun stuff like that, which other people cringe at. But hey,
I love math.
Do it, right?
I love math.
Yeah, math is great. And then went to work for Southwest Airlines, probably the best company I've ever worked for, except for my own. And worked for them for 14 years, retired, went back east for a couple of years to help take care of my dad, did some contract work there. Then when dad passed away and all my contracts dried up, told the contracting company, hey, my wife and I will move anywhere in the country, just find us jobs. They literally called me the next day and said, hey, we've got this gig in Dallas we think you'd be perfect for. And I go, yeah, who's it with? And they go, Southwest Airlines. I'm going, I could work for them. Yeah. So came back, did a contract for Southwest, and then I bounced around town doing contracts for different companies. And then July of 2021, I finally told them, hey guys, I got to quit. And they go, what's going on? They said, well, I've got to be a real estate professional by the end of the year. My CPA says this would be a great year for me to be a real estate professional. And they go, well, can you work till the end of August? I said, no. And so anyway, rewind a little bit from an investing standpoint. We started passive investing about 11 years ago. We were involved in the Lifestyles group in Dallas. Didn't exactly click with how they were doing everything, so I didn't renew with them. But I've met a lot of great people, so I've invested with people over the years. And then it was November of 2020, that we were sitting around the kitchen table talking about finances and retirement and what all that was going to look like. And we realized that the bill of goods that Wall Street and corporate America had sold us wasn't quite all it was cracked up to be. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We had money in our 401k and we'd had an okay retirement, but we'd have to cut back on our standard of living. We'd have to cut back on what we give to our church and charities. And for us, the worst thing was we'd have to cut back on our travel because we love to travel.
Me too.
And well, then you probably don't want me to tell you that in about a week, I'm going to be on my way to the Atacama Desert and then on to Antarctica.
Hey, I'm cheering you on, man. I'm just happy for you.
Yeah. And, we realized that, hey, if we're going to have the retirement that we want, then we're going to have to do something different. And so we started looking at a bunch of different options. How can we juice our retirement? And for us, the answer was real estate syndication. We found a good mentor. My daddy always said, making mistakes is okay as long as you don't make the same one over and over. And the best mistakes to learn from are somebody else's.
Amen.
And so that's why I really encourage people to get a mentor or a coach or both, whatever it takes for you to get over whatever it is that's holding you back. There are tons of good coaches and mentors out there. Not all of them are right for you. Not all of them are right for me. You need to go and do your homework. Like anything else you're getting into, you're going to spend some money. do your homework. Most of them have something free or inexpensive that you can try out and kind of get a feel for how they coach things. So anyway, we joined the program. March of 21, we dove in head first. We made the commitment, we're going to do a minimum of 2 hours every night and 8 hours on the weekend. And we're just going to hit it hard. And not everybody has that kind of time. Our kids are all grown and out of the house. So, our time is pretty much our own. We can do whatever we want to with it. So we made the decision, we're going to focus the next couple of years really hard on syndication. So we landed our first deal. I got notice that our PSA had been accepted in July, which is when I gave my notice to my contracting company and said, hey guys, sorry, got to be a real estate professional. And then focused on getting that deal over the finish line. And a good friend of mine, Mike Guthrie, had told me, he goes, you'll find that from the contract to closing is like a 2-month sprint. And it is, man, you're going all out because there's just, the lenders need stuff. The sellers need stuff, the buyers need stuff, the brokers need, everybody needs something, and it's just, you just go, and you got a lot of little things, and every deal's different. So that was our first deal. We closed it in November. May of the next year, we landed another deal. We closed our third deal 2 days before Christmas last year. And we were in the Caribbean. So that was my first deal that I closed when I was out of the country. So that was fun. Now, we did all the homework and everything beforehand. I made sure that, the lender knew I was leaving the country. I made sure our lawyers knew I was leaving the country. We had everything signed up. And just as an emergency, I had looked into, international notaries and, where are things available just in case, right? Because one of the things I've learned about being in multifamily or real estate in general is you can't over plan. You can't have too many plan B, plan C, plan D, especially when you're raising capital. You don't ever want to get into a deal and then not close it, because the brokers will never talk to you again. Because if you can't close a deal, they have no reason to talk to you. And so, all of and that's another reason why I say, don't go it alone. Find somebody that's done it and work with them. So anyway, that's kind of the quick and dirty story for us.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot to unpack, and I have a lot of different questions. So first, definitely want to thank you for your service in the Navy. I think America is a great country. I'm so thankful to be able to live here, and it's, people like you serving in the armed forces and the firefighters, the police officers, the social workers and the teachers and all those people that make this country great. So thank you for that.
Yep. You're most welcome.
Yes, sir. And then you said, you went to Texas Instruments. So, where did you go to college? I know you mentioned that as well.
So my degree is from Belmont. When I graduated, it was Belmont College. It's Belmont University now. They've
Okay.
upgraded. And I took all of my ROTC courses and a lot of my computer science courses over at Vanderbilt, because Belmont was just getting started with their computer program.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mentioned I like math as well. So I studied mechanical engineering at Texas A&M. So I got plenty of math in there too, and
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
it was really great.
you'd appreciate the joke. My brother's a civil engineer, and I always ask him, what's the difference between, like electrical engineers and civil engineers? And he didn't know. And I said, civil engineers build targets.
hmm That's funny. It's really funny. So I know you said over the last several days you've been in an unbreakable challenge listening to Grant Cardone. It sounds like he owes you a little bit of money. Tell me about what happened.
So, uh, my since you brought it up, my mentor for multifamily is Brad Sumrock, and
Okay.
Brad, one of Brad's mentors, and one of the things I like about Brad is continually growing and investing in himself through mentors and coaches, and one of his mentors is Grant Cardone. So Grant came in and gave an early pitch on his Unbreakable Challenge and some special offers to Brad's group. And one of the things he was doing was in there was, Grant popped open this app on his phone and said, "Hey, I want you guys to hear this message." And he just started playing it, and it was DJ Khaled. So Grant and DJ are buddies, and DJ was saying, "Hey, Grant, you need to come by the crib. I haven't talked to you in a while, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "I see you buying them jets like cars." He goes, "I want to know what your system is." And da, da, da. And Grant goes on and talks for a few more minutes. And then he comes back and says, "I'll give $100 to the first person that can tell me what the most important question DJ Khaled asked was." And I typed in real quick, "What's your system?" And Grant was watching the chat, and he goes, "Up, Shawn Griffith right there, $100." So, and I don't care if Grant never pays me, because I can, until he pays me, I can say Grant Cardone owes me $100.
That's an awesome story. It's one of a kind, man. You got to keep telling that. It's funny. So you started out in passive investing. Take me back to the very beginning. You started 11 years ago. What was your thought process? So I mean, you're working for some, really big, Fortune 500, potentially Fortune 100 companies.
Yep.
So you're making good money, but it seems like, potentially the 401k, the stocks, other investments, like maybe it wasn't enough. Like, what was your thought process? What were you looking for? And how did passive investing in real estate really meet all of your criteria?
Well, so if you rewind even further, my grandfather was a coal miner in Virginia, and you know they did not have a lot, at least in terms of material things. They had a lot in the way of friendships and family, but they couldn't afford to, like buy a new vehicle. Um,
Hmm.
they couldn't even afford to have their house plumbed. The kids got together one year, so my dad and my aunts and uncles got together, and they plumbed the house for my grandparents, and that was their Christmas present.
Wow.
So I realized I didn't want to be in a situation where I couldn't buy the things that I needed, to get by on a day-to-day basis. Because I mean, living in Texas, you got to have a car. I mean, it's a necessity for a lot of reasons. One is our public transportation system's not robust enough and widespread enough for me to go from my house in Denton to Rockwall or Fort Worth. I mean,
Hmm.
and it's just not, the infrastructure is not there. Um, but the whole, and I was going somewhere with that, and my mind just went.
That's okay.
Um, but yeah, the having, being able to provide, was important. And my dad worked for Eastman Kodak for 40 years and retired, and my mom worked for the U.S. Postal Service after the kids got up into middle school. Up until then, she was a housewife and homemaker, which is probably one of the hardest jobs on the planet that most people don't give credit for, and it's probably the most underpaid job. But anyway, I realized that if you have multiple streams of income and you're not reliant on just one of them, if something happens, now you're in a little better position than somebody that just has a job and they just got laid off.
Right.
And and I don't count the stock market. To me, that's more. The more I learn about it, the more I look into it, the more I realize it's almost like legalized gambling. Especially now with the social media influence, Elon Musk or somebody can come out and tweet, and somebody's stock nosedives or somebody's stock shoots way up, and it's not on the fundamentals of the company as much as it used to be.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. It's more easily manipulated than the value of a real estate. Pretty.
Yeah. And so anyway, that was kind of my thinking was, hey, I need to have other streams of income, and this real estate thing looks pretty good. And I'll be honest with you, the first time that I looked at a private placement memorandum, PPM, scared the hell out of me. It's like,
Over 100
back
pages of legal.
well, back then it was about 30 pages. Now they're about 100. Thank you, lawyers. Merrill Calliser in particular. But I blame Merrill for my real estate addiction. Merrill's a local real estate syndication attorney. He also develops and does a bunch of other stuff. Great guy. Somebody introduced me to him and said, hey, since you're going to invest, matter of fact, the guy that I was investing with said, you should really sit down with the syndication attorney so you understand this document. So, okay. So I called up Merrill and said, hey, I got a PPM I want you to review. Two things. I want you to tell me, is it a valid document and have everything in it that it needs? And two, I want you to sit down with me and explain what it is in English. And he said, okay, flat fee, $500, I'll do it.
Wow.
So I sent it to him. A week later, he shot me an email and said, hey, come on in. I got everything done. So he literally had a copy of it printed out, bunches of little tabs and stuff in it. And we went through the whole document. And he got to that section. There's like 14 or 15 pages. It's all reasons you should not invest in this deal. It's all the risk items. He goes, the only reason this should scare you is if it's missing. He said, what it should prompt you to do is ask your sponsors, well, how are you guys mitigating all of these risks on these 14 or 15 pages? And, 80% of them, or I guess probably actually 90% of them, it's you have the right insurance, or, you've done really good job of your due diligence. That's really what it comes down to. The bulk of it is having good insurance and doing a good job of your due diligence. Now, due diligence, we could spend a whole nother session on just talking about what's important for that. But that's kind of what got me started. And that first deal that we were in is New Orleans Apartments in Carrollton. Knocked it out of the park. I think we got like 3.5 times our money back on that one.
Wow. It's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it was cash flowing like 12%. Now people would
Yeah, you're not
kill
getting
to
those
have
deals
10.
anymore.
Yeah. You're lucky to get 6 now.
Passive investors in real estate are able to receive a check every month. Some people call that mailbox money. We say money really does grow on trees. Visit the website at biggerpictureholdings.com, where we have a ton of free resources to help you learn more about planting your very own money tree.
So what other advice would you have for somebody, just starting out in passive investing, and other things to be cautious about and look for?
Well, aside from the obvious one, which is get off your ass and invest, the first thing you should do, though, is educate yourself. Don't let education stop you or slow you down, but it's a continuing, ongoing basis. I know a guy that's he's strictly a passive investor. He's invested in, I think, over 70 deals in his lifetime now, and he's still learning.
Right.
So learn, meet people. The most important thing, get to know your sponsors, not just the person you know. Like William, if you came to me with a deal and said, hey, I've got this great property, I'm going, okay, we've met a time or two, and I think I would feel comfortable. We'd have some more conversations if I was going to invest with you. But let's say I know you well enough that I'm going to invest with you. If I don't know your partners, I'm not investing with you. I need to meet them, not necessarily face to face, but I need to meet them and have a conversation. And I'll tell you why. One of the deals I was invested in as a passive investor, there were 5 partners on the deal. There were 5 different opinions on how that property should be run. Nobody was in charge. And the property management company got 5 different directions on a fairly irregular basis. They're contracted, which is nowhere near enough attention to make a property perform. And now I'm happy to say we got our money back. We did not lose money. We even made, I think, 28% over a 2.5 year period. So about, 10, a little over 10% a year, which is, that's way better than the bank. Don't get me wrong, but they were promising 100% return on our money. We should have doubled our money, and it never cash flowed. Never. 2.5 years, no cash flow. Well, they kind of, one or two of them had a pretty good idea what they were doing, and actually had some good ideas for the property, but because they were disjointed, it didn't come to fruition. I mean, it takes coordinated effort to make a property work.
Right, yeah, they had no cohesion and they hadn't really thought about the different responsibilities that everybody
No.
needed to have. Yeah, those are really wise advice. So you mentioned you have a mentor, Brad Sumrock. We got to meet last year in person at the AIM NatCon convention. That's one of my favorites that I've been to so far. I definitely plan on going back again this year, and it's in Dallas. So it's really close to both of us. Of all the different things of capital raising, of acquisition and developing broker relationships, and of asset management, what areas are you focused on right now?
So I am focused this year. My growth area for focus is capital raising. Put something in the chat for you. That's my affiliate link to Rat Race
Okay.
2023 for Brad's next Rat Race coming up in March, I think. And they should still be able to get early bird pricing through that.
Okay.
But yeah, they the whole that whole process of mentoring and coaching has been very valuable to me. Attending the events, getting around the people. There's one of the things that Grant was saying in his first section on mindset. It's not just mindset about the money, but it's getting around the right people. If you're hanging around with people that are poo-pooing the idea of you becoming wealthy or becoming free of your corporate job, then I would say you're hanging around the wrong people. Doesn't mean you have to, cut family out of your life. Some of them you just pretty much have to put up with, but you don't have to spend as much time with them.
Mm-hmm.
You should really. One of my other friends, I guess acquaintance is probably a better way. Bobby Castro, he and his wife came over from Cuba, built their company up from literally nothing, sold it several years ago for, I believe, a little over $1 billion. They have their own family office. They're training their family to operate the business, and they buy
Mm-hmm.
and sell a lot of multifamily. And they don't do any fundraising. They just write a check.
Right.
And Bobby has this concept that he calls non-refundable minutes. He goes, you are only, once you spend your minute, it's gone. And you don't have, any way of getting it back. He said, so you should be careful who and where and how you spend those non-refundable minutes. He goes, is it something that's helping you reach your goals? Is it helping you achieve what you want to achieve in life? And if it's not, you should think about, hey, is that, hours sitting on Netflix, or 2 or 3 hours binging something, is that adding, value to your life or to other people's lives? Do I watch Netflix? Sure, once in a while,
Yeah.
but I don't sit like every night and binge Netflix.
Right.
You like most things in life, there's a balance. And it's up to you to find out what really works for you. But hanging around people like that, Bobby Castro, Jesse Itzler, Grant Cardone, Brad Sumrock, Pete Vargas. Pete's amazing. You want to learn about marketing and telling your story. Pete's one of the go-to guys. Him and his partner Pat Quinn. They're all just, there's just so much out there to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all have the capacity to improve. As I'm fond of telling people, do I want to be perfect? Not really, because the last perfect guy on earth we crucified. So I would, and yes, I'm a Christian. I don't make any bones about that. But I think it's a target that we should shoot for. Just like shooting for the stars. If you shoot for the stars and you land on the moon, well, you've accomplished something.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway,
I love that. No, I very much appreciate that. And, obviously I'm a man of faith as well. I want that to be the thing that people know the most about me. And, I'm grateful that you shared your faith a little bit as well. Something that you just mentioned, that I wanted to highlight a little bit was, just surrounding yourself with people that are going in the same direction that you want to go in. One of my mentors and a family member as well, I was thinking about staying at the college or university in my hometown. And he was like, hey, like, I encourage you, like, go ahead and like go to Texas A&M because you'll be, running with a group of people that are running a lot faster. And, they'll naturally, you'll start running faster as well when you're in that group. And my big goal for this year, I've got fitness goals, I've got professional and real estate goals, I have relational goals, service goals, and a few different other areas, and it's like in the past I've tried to say, well, I want to weigh, X amount, or I want to be able to bench press this amount or run this amount, so I've got to like work out 6-7 days a week, and it's just like that's insanity, and it's not sustainable. And so this year, my fitness goal is like, well, I'm going to work out 4 days a week. I'm going to work out a couple days, I'll have a day of rest. I'll work out a couple days and I'll take the weekends off. And over the month of January so far in 2023, I've missed 1 day of working out so far, of my 4 day goal. And I've seen vast improvements. I've gained several pounds of muscle already, and that consistency is what's going to keep you going, because you can take a break. Hey, like I need to decompress, I need to unwind, I'm going to watch some Netflix, but I'm not going to do that every single day. And like with learning real estate, like I'm going to learn, I'm going to spend a few hours here, a few hours there, and like you said, maybe on the weekends, like I'll spend more time doing that, but I don't have to do that every single second of every day and get burned out, so it's like it's learning how to be consistent while also taking breaks to do other things as well.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, and one of the things that we did this year, we went to the real estate radio guys Create Your Future goal setting conference in Vegas.
Awesome.
It was amazing. Robert Helms and his team had just an amazing process for going through. I'd never been really good at setting goals, and I think part of it was because nobody had ever put it in the context that really clicked with me. And the way Robert approached it, it really did click with me. And so we made a lot of good progress on getting goals, not only for our personal but for our business. And and there were some really cool people in the audience. His partner,
Yeah.
Russell Gray.
Okay.
So yeah, Russell was in the audience. Ken McElroy was in the audience, and Ken's son was there, and they were talking about how he and Robert Helms and their two oldest boys went and summited Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
Well, they're going
Okay,
to do
that'd be amazing. That'd be a great
yeah,
trip.
and they're going to do it again with the two younger boys. So they're all excited about that. But yeah, that's like 19,000 feet above sea level. That's a hefty climb.
Yeah, you better be working on your cardio before you head on that trip.
Yep.
So last thing, man, I know you got places to go as well. So what's your proudest accomplishment in real estate so far, and kind of where do you see yourself, maybe 6 months, a year from now, and some of the goals that you have for real estate?
Probably the deal that we just closed 2 days before Christmas. So we were able to get our investors that last year of 100% accelerated depreciation. We pushed People had told me, hey, loan assumptions take longer. Well, I can tell you, loan assumptions take longer. This should have been closed in October of last year. I won't go into the whole story, but if anybody wants to know, they can feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk more on it. But we got that closed. It was a lot of work, and it was my first deal that I closed being out of the country. We were in the Caribbean celebrating my wife's birthday and Christmas, and we'd done everything ahead of time to make sure that everybody had all the signatures that they needed, and we kind of prepped to make sure, just in case anything happened, I knew how to get a hold of international notaries and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, we didn't need any of that. But one of the things I've learned is you want to make sure you have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, maybe even plans E, F, and G, because you just never know.
Right.
Every real estate transaction is different. Every property is different. But yeah, I would say that I'm most proud of this last one, which is Treetop Apartments. And one of the reasons I was able to close it was because I have an amazing team around me. One of my partners, Gabriel Kraft, he's running point on this one, and man, he's just crushing it. And then we've got some partners in Colorado, Alex and Sarah May. They're literally rocket scientists. They from NASA. She used to do human space flight programs, and I forget exactly what Alex did, but they both worked for NASA, and very brilliant people, just easy to talk to and very smart. And they really make you think about all the things you need to think about for working on a property. And yeah, it's been an amazing group.
It's awesome. It's cool to have a nice team like that has your back.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for being a guest today. It's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, and I know the listeners will value it as well.
Well, William, I really appreciate you having me on, and I wish you the best of luck. And didn't you tell me before we started here that tomorrow is your last day in corporate America?
It is, yes, sir.
Hey, man, you celebrate that and keep knocking it out of the park.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. We'll see you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Like and subscribe below. A new episode will air every Tuesday at 7 a.m. Are you looking for more content? Visit our website, biggerpictureholdings.com. And remember, money really does grow on trees.